They say that black and brown people struggle with postpartum depression. It's a form of not postpartum depression. Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Everybody having babies.
I have to say that.
Welcome to another episode of Two Black Girls.
Yeah. Hey now.
I'm Maya.
I'm Adina. Today we're going to be talking about the myth, or hopefully dispelling a myth, that black girls don't need therapy. We definitely need it. We can't do this life on our own. We can't do this life with just what we think we know. Sometimes it's helpful to have other people behind us. Sometimes we need people to support us and to see the things that we don't see. People who are trained in their element, trained in the mind and in human characteristics or human behavior. So we're going to talk about a few things about our therapy journey. So I'm going to ask you,
why did you begin going to therapy?
So I have had an interesting life. I think I have, like my Enneagram says, I feel like I'm a perfectionist. My temperament is someone who is an egotist or who is a perfectionist. It's a part of my temperament. And I think that I'm right all the time. I think I need to be perfect. I don't need anybody's help. I can do it by myself. So that alone is one of the things that people were like, you probably should look into therapy. And I was like, I'm good. I don't need to talk about that stuff. My initial, wanting to actually go into therapy or do something with therapy came from us being a part of a D group. D group stands for Discipling Group. It's a group of women who get together and just give each other advice and help and assistance. And it's really cool because we just delve into the Bible and delve into our characters and our personalities, the things that we can grow in our character. So one of the things that I shared was about an unhealthy relationship that I was a part of, and I respond differently to women than I do to men, and this relationship was unhealthy from the start, and I stayed in that relationship even after it got worse and worse, and I kept going in the relationship. One of the things that was suggested was you should consider therapy to figure out why you kept going, to figure out why you respond so much harsher to women. Why are you so much more forgiving to men? So I actually started going to Codependence Anonymous group. One of the things that we talked about was this story. Like, you write this letter that really goes back to your earliest memories. My earliest memories of just childhood were a lot with my mom, but I was trying to think more specifically to what's happening with men. What's my relationship to men? What has that been like in the past? So I was thinking about my relationship with my dad and how he wasn't really consistent, and I would always forgive him like it's my dad. I gotta keep my dad in my life. I still have my dad in my life. He's a great guy, but he's not consistent. He wasn't consistent when I was a child. I was challenged after I read my first letter to go back and really think about my more immediate family, the people who I interacted with more directly. So I wound up writing about my relationship with my mom and my siblings, and turns out I had a lot of frustration and anger and jealousy when I was a kid. My number one love language is quality time, and I did not get much quality time as a child from my mom. I can't remember stories of quality time with my mom, and that really was something that was eye-opening, mind-blowing to me. And I wound up talking to my mom about it, why did you give so much more time and attention to this other sibling than you gave to me and everybody else. And I did go directly to her and I asked her about it, and her response left me still questioning. So later, I still haven't really dealt with it, right? Still haven't dealt with it. So later, we're now like going into a quarantine. It was like right before, I feel like this was 2019. August of 2019, my mom calls me and she's like, hey, I just went to Costco, and it was a random situation where she just needed me to give her this money back. My mom calls me and she's like, hey, because I have it on my Costco card. Cool, we cool. You got me on your Sam's Club card. I got you on my Costco card. So it came August 1st, and she calls me like, hey, I just went to Costco, and I immediately was like, oh, shoot. And then she was like, well, can you give me this money back? When you gonna be able to give me this money back? And you don't even have to ask me if I'm gonna give you the money back. That shouldn't even be a question. Why do you have to ask me for the money back? I'm going to volunteer it back because I'm that person. So it really broke me. It's so simple, but it broke me that she asked me for that money back. So I was like, don't worry about it. I'm coming right now. And I hung up the phone, all the attitude, anger just raging. Why? Over something so simple, like give me this little $40 back. Raging. That's what I was going into. So I hung up the phone and I'm screaming, I hate her, just screaming in the car. I couldn't believe how angry I was. 2 seconds later, I kid you not, 2 to 5 seconds after me starting to scream, another sister calls. And she's like, hey, how you doing? So random. She just wants to call and see how I was doing. Probably checking up on some other business, but see how I was doing. And I was like, I am not doing great. And she was like, what's going on? And I told her about the whole situation. And I was like, I hate her. She was like, stop saying that. You don't. Let's get down to the root. What's happening? So as we talked more, she really was like, you should consider going to therapy. Because Adina, this is such a simple situation. And it has blown you up to an extent and to a proportion that it's unnecessary. So you really should consider going to therapy to figure out what is the root behind the anger. She told me about this one therapist. She does EMDR, and it stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy. They actually talked about it on Grey's Anatomy. It was really cool because I had just done it and then they talked about it on Grey's Anatomy. Now, this sister had talked to me before about it. She said, it's going to be really great. You're going to grow. It's going to be great. And I had never reached out to her, to the therapist. So then after this situation, I was like, you right. I need to go. Okay, fine. I'm gonna go because you're right. I can't believe how this is making me feel. And I wound up going to therapy, and we wound up reprocessing. Oh my goodness. It was so helpful to go back and just talk through my life, talk through my relationships with my immediate family. The things that I had written down in that journal, I just talked to the therapist about. She wrote them all down. We picked a story, whatever the story was, whatever the line was, and we reprocessed that memory. And we reprocessed another one, and we reprocessed another one. And then I realized through this EMDR reprocessing of my thoughts, I don't have a relationship with my mom. I don't have a friendship with my mom. That was one of the eye-opening. I couldn't believe that was the root of why I was so angry. My mom didn't know me. I didn't allow myself to be known by my mom. So I was like, okay, I need to rework some things. So now my goal is to be known by my mom. My goal is to have a relationship with my mom, to spend time with her, to talk to her, to share with her the things going on in my life, to help her with the things going on in hers, hear and just listen to the things going on in her life. I can't tell you how helpful this entire process really has changed my perspective. So that's why I did therapy.
So we talk about temperaments, and we're reading this book titled The Spirit Controlled Temperament. And so it talks about how everybody has these different temperaments, and they are more prone to have certain personality traits, behaviors, habits, and whatnot. And so thinking about this book and my temperament, or what I've identified as pretty close to what I am or what I'm prone to do, people would call me a melancholy. So I think that there was a point where I was teaching at a school. It wasn't super stressful, like year number 3, y'all. If y'all didn't know what that was, go back to the other episode about teaching. Year 3 was the doozy. And so I had a lot more peace, less issues. Yeah, I felt more comfortable teaching. But there was a point in that year where I started feeling depressed. And I didn't know what it was, what that feeling was. But it seemed like out of the blue, I just had no emotion. And I was like, I couldn't be happy. I couldn't figure out why I wasn't happy. I just was like dull and it felt like a week or 2 straight. And I was telling my mom, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just cannot be happy. And so at that point in my mind, I was like, I should try therapy. Maybe that I've heard other people in my life explain their experiences with therapy, and I've been open to it before, but I didn't really feel like there was a need for it. You're good. You don't have any problems. You got a good home. You're successful. You're doing well. Like, just get over your sadness. And so, so that kind of prolonged it. After a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks at the most, I kind of, got out of that funk, because I just felt like you're in a funk. So go do something, get busy, and then you won't be in that funk. But then a few weeks or even a couple months passed, and I started having conflicts with a friend. And it was like, I got into this interesting situation where I felt like super tied to this friend, feeling like I was a disappointment, feeling like there was a conflict. It just felt really unhealthy. And I didn't know what to do with that feeling. So my mind just went back to I need to go to therapy. And Adina has spoken about therapy before in her experience, and another friend talked about their experience with this same type of therapy. And I was like, okay, I guess I should give it a try. I got insurance. Go ahead and try it. If it don't work, hey, that's fine. We'll find something else. And so there was a fear behind that before I started therapy, that I always have a fear. If I go to the doctor and they say, ain't nothing wrong with you, go home, then I'm like, well, what do I do now? It's the same fear. Like, if I go to the therapy, I'm scared that they're going to be like, ain't nothing wrong with you, go home. And so I did
sleep it off.
I know, sleep it off, drink some water.
You'll be all right. Drink some water. Take an Advil.
And I've done that. So I didn't want to go there and somebody is saying, girl, you're doing fine, ain't nothing wrong. So I went to my first appointment with therapy and experienced the same type of therapy, the EMDR therapy. And we talked about one. She asked me all these questions about my family. And she asked my role in my family. And I'm the middle child, but I have have assumed a lot of responsibilities in the family. So people tend to rely on me, and I like it like that. I like being reliable. But with this one instance of my first EMDR experience, we were talking about just feeling like there was a load on me. And like even thinking about that, I didn't realize that there was a lot of pressure I put on myself and perhaps other people I put on me, or I've taken on that I don't need to. I've taken on responsibilities that are not necessarily my own responsibilities, and that's something that I'm learning in therapy. With that being said, I also realized that there was a lack of vulnerability that I've struggled with for a long time. So whenever I've had pain or experienced some type of anything, it's difficult to share about those things. And that's actually the biggest reason why I started therapy, because I was trying to figure out, why is it hard to share certain things? Why is it scary, or I get paralyzed when I am sharing vulnerable things?
That's a great word, paralyzed.
And that's exactly how I feel when I share. Doesn't feel like something that's important to share. All these things, I could go on and on about my mindset when I share about certain things, or when I share my ideas in general. But going through this process has helped me to kind of go back and reach back and think about, okay, when I was in a certain experience, how was I feeling? What was being communicated? What did I take in? And it's not necessarily about what someone else has done, but what am I receiving? What am I believing about the experience? Some of it may be true. So if it is true, what do I do with that information now? And then some of it may not be the correct perspective. So yeah, it's been interesting going to therapy. It's been about a year and some change, maybe a year. But yeah,
that's a great point. It is a lot of, what were you thinking then? How did you feel? And when you realize how you felt, what were you thinking? Then we wind up going deeper and reprocessing that. And it's cool. It's so cool the way that you reprocess with an adult mind, with a more mature mindset. Because as a child, you see things through the eye of, I'm a child, I need, I. But as an adult, you can see things through other people's perspective, or through a perspective, well, this might have been the need at that time. This might have been the struggle at that time. We don't see those things when we're children. And that mindset as a child actually sticks with us as we go throughout our life. So that's one of the big things about therapy, is it allows you to reprocess. It allows you to think through, talk through, and get input about your childhood experiences. I have heard some crazy horror stories though. You have to understand that picking the right therapist is so important. You are in the driver's seat. It's like shopping for some new shoes, or finding the best manicurist. If that person did a bad job on your nails the first time, you're not going back. Hard pass on going back to that person.
But you won't stop getting your nails done.
Definitely not. Definitely not. You're still going to get the help that you need. You won't just be like, well, that was a bad experience, I'm going to not go get my nails done anymore. I go and get my nails done by another person. I had a lady, she slapped my hand. I was, you better believe I ain't go back. No. You ain't going to hit my hand. And I didn't say anything because I'm a perfectionist and a people pleaser. I'm working on that. Still working on that. Probably will be working on that for the rest of my life. But it's really cool that I can go and shop around and see who's good for me. This one therapist who we've been working with, she's been great for me. Great. She's a sister in my church. she's been able to help like support me, not just with my thinking, but also with my spiritual. And I love that was a good fit. Luckily for me, it was a good fit the first time.
And there are, so when you're searching, there are therapists that if you are looking for someone who can relate to your Black experience, there are people who are specific to that, or people who are from a Christian background or a particular background. If you are trying to discover your sexuality, there are people who are trained. That's the word, trained to help you in those areas. So it isn't just about, okay, I tried one and that didn't work, so I'll never do it. I think that a lot of people in our community, if we dare to try therapy,
won't even dare to try. Start what?
That's a whole. Yeah, but if we try or dare to, attempt therapy and it doesn't work out the first time, then it is very discouraging, because it's near to us. It's inside of us.
Yeah.
And when we open up and don't get the help we need, it's understandable to not want to try. But we're encouraging you to try again.
Do it.
To look for resources. There are resources for your particular need.
Yeah. If it doesn't work out the first time, try again. Because therapy is so beneficial. It is so helpful. I have heard horror stories. I have a friend who her therapist tried to hit on her. She was looking for a good therapist. Didn't matter female or male. It was easier for her to communicate what she was feeling with men. So she tried these male therapists. They didn't work out. She tried that one male therapist, tried to sleep with her. I can't believe it. Tried to sleep with her. Tried to hit on her. She's dealing with her emotional stuff, this other stuff that's the background. Why are you trying to hit on her? But maybe she needed a female therapist. Maybe she needed somebody who was not going to hit on her, but females be hitting on.
Somebody who was professional.
Somebody who was professional.
Goodness.
Professional. Hello. But yes, so there have been horror stories. I've heard people who go to therapists and they do tell them, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You'll be all right. These are just the woes of life. No. We need to dig deeper. Dig deeper. I think of that from The Cosby Show. Dang, I feel like I shouldn't mention The Cosby Show ever, but it was such great things that came out of that show. But how is it beneficial?
I think that, kind of like what you were saying, thinking of the things that happened in the past, I hold on to words very tightly. I hold on to memories very tightly. And when I have those experiences, if I haven't stopped to think about what actually happened or what shouldn't have happened, then I'm still stuck in that same mindset of, I should have been this, or I could have done this. And that's not healing. I'm not moving forward because I'm still stuck in that same mentality. And we're not meant to be stuck. We're meant to grow, just like plants are meant to grow. And so I think just being aware of how I've processed things. Therapy.
All right, so I feel like it's been beneficial because for me, I am very much I don't need this. I can do something else. I don't need people. I can do something else. I can find another person. I don't need experiences. I can do something else. That's been my mentality. It's not a horrible thing to do to be able to move on and be flexible. It's good to be able to be flexible, to be able to move from one thing to the next and not have to feel stuck. It is a problem when you do that all the time and drop things that are good. So what I want to work on doing is being more observant of those things. Everything that I feel like, I don't need that, I'm moving on. I am going back and reflecting on that. What is it about it that it's good? What is it? What am I feeling? It makes me, when I do that, I don't need that, move on kind of thing, it makes me push people to the side. It makes me not reflect on what's going on deeper, because there's always something deeper. Something always is down further, or I've pushed something down further that I haven't really acknowledged. So I really love that this allows me to go back and do that. So I've learned that about myself. I feel like this has been beneficial in that. I do want to talk about how Black people in general tend to stay away from therapy because, for the most part, we're private people. We don't want people all in our business. That's like one big thing. Your business. Man, that's one big thing in my family. You don't tell your business to everybody. Like, you keep your business to yourself. This is a family thing. It's our family thing. We're going to deal with our family thing in our family. But our family thing, it's causing a lot of hurt and trauma to other people. And it's causing trauma in the midst of this. And we need to work on figuring out how to get that mess rooted out. So therapy has been one of the most beneficial things for me. I suggested it to my brother and sister-in-law, and it's been so beneficial for their relationship. Overall, I think that we should really go after, if you feel like you have any aspect of your life that is off, or you brush people to the side, or you have an anger issue, or you have depression, or you are struggling with any aspects of your life, any relationships that might have any strain, struggling with selfishness, struggling with pride, any of those things, you could appreciate some therapy.
Yeah, and I think that even this past year, without a doubt, anybody who has experienced a pandemic should go to therapy to go back and think through how that year went, because it was a difficult, traumatic experience when you are used to doing something, you have gone through routines, and now all of a sudden it abruptly stops. That's trauma, when you rely on something and then you can't rely on it anymore. And I believe it has affected everybody one way or another. I think as Black people, we have experienced trauma and we don't even realize it's trauma. Racism is trauma.
Yeah.
Prejudice is trauma.
Yeah. Just living in communities where there's violence around you.
Or lack of resource.
Yeah. They say that Black people experience PTSD just because of the violence that happens in our communities. Just because of the experiences that we have in our homes. If you were in a household where your mother or father was abusive, physically or emotionally or verbally abusive, if they were alcoholic, these are things that could definitely cause trauma to any person, specifically a child living in that space. So it's super important that we go after therapy, after other resources that can help us process the things we experience as children. It definitely affects you as an adult. So we want to encourage as many, specifically black and brown people, because that's exactly the people who are taking advantage of it least.
Yes. And if you have insurance, your insurances, most of them are covered, and you can get support. Just, you have to look for it. So
yeah, I've heard of people who get free therapy. They've gotten the first 3 sessions free. You can test out different therapists during that time and try your first 3 free. Check into your insurance and see what they have. If you don't have insurance, there are resources out there to get you therapeutic services and help you with the things that you need to process from when you were a child. Or the things that you need to process from now.
Yes.
Because it's not just childhood stuff. Sometimes it's adult stuff.
Yep.
If you've ever gone through a rape, if you've ever gone through an abusive relationship, if you've ever gone through a job loss, any trauma of any sort can be something that you can talk through and get reprocessing on.
Yeah.
So
we'll share some resources about things that we know from our experiences, and hopefully that'll help. But we definitely hope you guys consider art in therapy, or are encouraging the people that you love to also go to therapy as well.
So beneficial. Get it in, family.
Do it. Be healed.
Be healed. That's a word. Yes. We need healing in our families. We need healing in our minds. We need healing in our heart. This is huge.
Yeah.
This is the great opportunity to do it now, too.
We are meant to enjoy our lives.
Yes.
And so when we are not enjoying our lives, whether it's because of things that we have processed or in our inside of us or things around us, we have to figure out how to get back to enjoying the life that we're given.
Yes.
Because we only have that. And if we are sick internally, we will not enjoy this life. So,
man, it's crazy how your mental health can affect your body. It affects your body to the point where sometimes you can't sleep well.
Yes.
Sometimes you get sick.
Migraines.
That's crazy. Stomach aches, headaches, just physically sick. Illnesses
Muscle
don't
aches.
get better when you are mentally unhealthy.
Yep.
So get the mental health services that you need. That's another thing. People don't do therapy because they think, people gonna think I'm crazy. You're gonna think I'm crazy if I'm doing therapy. Well, we all got a little crazy in us.
We all crazy.
We all crazy. You human, you crazy. Don't think you only need it. We all need it.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you all for listening. We hope this has been beneficial to hear other people's stories, and we hope that it helps you in your journey to therapy. Two Black girls.
Don't underestimate or undermine me. I'm here to show the world how pressure really makes a diamond. It's just a PSA for those who main goal is to block the growth. The boss is water for the sword of God's perfect timing. So please bring manure and watch us grow through the bull you throw. Nothing new under the sun. Not my first rodeo. Understood I came in this world. How far I need to go to growing in this ice cold world. Dodging these obstacles.
Just living in that's not what I was about to say. Just, you gotta be serious.
Think about how that's gonna be edited out. I'm gonna slow it down and be like, that replay is funny.
Or should I just leave it at that?
I
don't want to say it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to leave that in there.
PTSD.
Right. They say.
It's gonna be such an